and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but it's mostly just about TV episodes of weird shows. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all our new Croatian fans listening to this episode. No, I'm sorry, Serbian. I'm sorry. What was I thinking? Clearly, this show we're covering is exceedingly popular in Serbia. That makes more sense.
Yeah, so that will make sense shortly. But we're keeping our sort of unofficial summer series going with another hot show. This week on the program, we are talking about Tropical Heat from 1991 through 1993. This is a weird little show that I had never heard of before. Skinner, apparently you had at some point heard of this. It was also called Sweating Bullets, so maybe you've heard of it under that name.
Yep, it would have been on CBS Prime Time, which seems impossible.
That is impossible. This show is hot garbage, and the fact that it was on primetime television on an actual network makes no sense. This looks like the equivalent of the sort of UPN direct to like syndication type shows. Like it has a very much a VIP kind of vibe to it. Another show that we might have to cover at some point, but it feels very much kind of in that vein of programming. And let me give you the summary of this show so that you kind of know what this is about. We don't get everybody in this show. Very weird too, because like Pacific Blue that we did last time or two previous episodes ago had a character in the credits that we didn't get. And this episode also has a character in the credits that just doesn't show up in this episode. But here's what Tropical Heat is about. Nick Slaughter, an ex-RCMP, which is Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and DEA agent who had dropped out of society after being fired from his job, relocates to the Florida town of Key Maria to start a detective service. In the process, he meets Sylvie Gerard, a local travel agent. Together, they form a strong partnership and quite the detective team. However, the local police squad never made it easy, so they often require help from their friends, Ian and Spider, owners of the Tropical Heat Bar at different times, and Raleigh, a local police mortician. The town of Key Maria will never be the same again, thanks to Nick Slaughter and company. And that synopsis was written by Janet Worthy at Planeteer.com.
Planeteer.com, huh?
Her email address, I guess, is just given right there on the IMDb page summary for Tropical Heat.
That's different.
Yeah, that is very different. So we are talking specifically this week about the episode in season 1. This is episode 8, I believe. Yes, For a Song, which aired back in May of 1991. The reason we picked this one is because it had a musical theme, so it kind of tied in with our California Dreams episode last time. We thought it would be fun to stick with the kind of summery musical vibes, and we get some music for sure in this one. And so I don't know anything about this show, so we're gonna have to kind of work our way through it, figuring this thing out as we go. We get a bizarre cold open that just sort of starts. Well, I guess before we get a cold open, we get a coming up on this episode of Tropical Heat, and it tells us the entire episode.
Yeah, it's a good 30 seconds of just clips of this episode that you're going to watch.
The only thing it doesn't do is give away the end of the big like surprise reveal. It doesn't give that away, but basically gives away everything else.
You know that one character is going to get a scar on his face. You know they're going to be people landing in bed, gunshot, and shirts open. Yeah, I remember some shows doing this back in the day. Maybe it's a Canadian show thing because I remember it, but no one does this anymore. So it was like to this level. So it was very jarring, I guess, is the best way.
Yeah, it's extremely jarring.
Instead of a last time on, it's a next time on.
It's a this time on.
Yes. And then we get, like I said, a cold open that really sets the plate for the level of dialogue you're going to get on this show. Where, hey, they're supposed to be in a seedy, grimy hotel room. It looks like a shitty hotel room.
Oh, for sure.
We walk right into this Nick Slaughter, our main character, which is an amazing name. We'll talk more about his cultural relevance soon enough.
Yeah, Nick Slaughter, played by Rob Stewart.
Rob Stewart, not Rod Stewart. We have two great names as stars in the show. We have Rob Stewart.
Rob Stewart, the alternate reality version of Rod Stewart with his hot song, "Do You Think I'm Horny?"
And we have as Ian Stewart, the British rocker who runs the bar, John David Bland. Which, man, if that's your name and you can change your name for your screen, change that last name.
Yeah, I think John David Bland, he's only in the first 2 seasons. He pretty much bounces after season 2.
I think he's replaced by Spider Garvin.
Yeah, he's actually only midway through season 2, so I wonder if his character dies in that episode, in like midway through. He must
maybe. Hopefully, it's easier to find out why his character dies and why the actual actor died in 1998. Because the only page that I found that had a description that said what caused the death of John David Bland, my browser decided it was a dangerous website and I should not open it.
It doesn't want you to know the truth. There's a lot of mystery surrounding that death.
But in this one, we have our Nick Slaughter. We have Sylvie Gerard, his partner. I don't know why they're partners, but they are. It's played by Carolyn Dunn. I had to point out is a Nova Scotian from Cape Breton. And they're having
but not that Carolyn Dunn. You sent me a clipping from a Twitter account for a national correspondent in Calgary for the CBC, and she puts very very clearly in large all caps, not the actor.
Which is funny because you would think this person. Why would someone? Yeah, lots of people have the same name, but like. No one remembers this show. She's in a lot of stuff, but it hasn't been for a few years. And like, not that many people must remember this show. Yeah. Except
they do.
Except for they do in a very specific country that is not Croatia. But yeah, that has to be why that's there. Because it is in all caps.
Yeah. It has to be. This also, before we get into the episode, I know we were kind of jumping around, but there's so much to talk about, like with the show itself, which is really interesting. This is one of the only shows that I've seen where the amount of episodes they get like dramatically increases across the run of the show. Typically, you have like a shorter first season while they kind of get it sorted, and then the second season is a little bit longer, and then the rest kind of follow a particular kind of a theme, like around 22 episodes. Back in the 90s, that was sort of the standard. That was the standard season length. So the first season has 9 episodes, which is kind of a weird number. It's like not, I mean, usually those get like 12
mid-season,
or 13.
Maybe I would assume, because it started in April. It's a mid-season replacement.
Sure. Okay. So, it ran for a couple months. They did 9 episodes. They liked it. Okay, great. We're going to bring it back for season 2. We're going to give it 21 episodes. That seems normal. That's kind of a normal run for a show like this. You're like, all right, cool. That makes sense. We're going to bring it back for season 3 because apparently that one did so well. We need it to come back. But you know what? It's such a great show. We're going to give you 36 episodes in season 3.
It is a lot. And then
that is insane.
And then many, many years later in 2001, we're going to take 2 of those episodes and re-edit them together as a feature-length movie called Crisscross.
I didn't realize that it was in 2001. Like it was in 2001.
It is in 2001.
That's wild.
Yeah, and like if you look at the cover of that movie, it's a woman in lingerie arching her back.
Does it have anything to do with the Ground Zero that's in the episode we watched?
Unfortunately, no. It does not appear to be. It must be a later episode because it does not have Mr. Bland in it.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, like years later, turning like apparently adding like a few nudie scenes into it and re-editing it, and it's a movie almost 10 years later.
That's wild. I did not realize that. I'm thinking I'm used to them taking shows and like turning them into, you know, turning them into movies, like cutting little clips. But usually that is like a year later or like the same year, you know, trying to get people to watch the new season or whatever. The fact that it's like almost a decade after the fact is wild.
But we'll get into the end when we keep hitting around the Serbia thing. That it is so much wilder than almost anything we've ever covered.
Yeah. I've never heard of this show before, and the fact that it has a bit of a cult following.
A cult following
is pretty wild.
Involving the protests against a election fraud. Like very like as a symbolic thing used by young people who were protesting Slobodan Milosevic, like, which if you were around back then, was a big fucking deal. So wait for that. We'll get further into that.
Yeah,
it involves a punk band, a graffiti, all kinds of bars and taverns and graphic comic strips done in protest, a documentary, a concert, everything. Don't worry. That's the end. That is going to blow your mind. But right now, we're just going to in a shitty hotel room where Nick and Sylvie are looking at a woman in another room in her underwear, and Sylvie is very jealous that she doesn't get to watch.
Okay, so it seems like there is, I mean, for someone who had never seen this show before, throwing you in with these characters is kind of wild. They do their best to try to set it up like that.
We're not that far into the first season, though.
No, this is like right towards the end of the first season, but again, only like 8 episodes in. So, you know, it is kind of wild that we're just jumping right into this, because this would have been the 8th episode. So there was only 1 episode left after this one of the first season. So they come into this hotel room because they're going to they've been hired to survey someone across the way. And they seem to have some sort of sexual tension between them. I think maybe in one of the previous episodes, they potentially tried a relationship, but maybe they decided to keep it professional. But there's still some sexual tension. I guess Sylvie has sexual tension with everybody because she also gets a kiss on the lips from Ian towards the end of the episode, and she seems to cry because of it. So I don't really know what's going on there either. But she wants to learn how to be a private detective. So he's kind of showing her the ropes and seems to be turning himself on, talking about all the random women he gets to watch through his camera.
We got a lot of real close-ups of their faces here.
Yeah, the camera does seem to, like, every cut seems to get closer and closer to their faces, to one point where, as he's talking about women wearing thigh highs and garter belts and all this stuff, we are just zoomed in and we can only see Sylvie's eyes, her nose, and her mouth in the frame.
Yeah, which, you know, great, and anyone can be into anything, but that doesn't seem to have anything to do with her character the rest of the show.
No, it's not even, it's like a weird cold open that doesn't have anything to do with the plot, but also isn't like action packed or interesting enough to like set it up. Like if it were one thing where it's Nick catching like some other case, like he's apprehending some guy. I mean, I know he's not a cop, but he's like, you know, revealing like, oh, we caught you and here's how. Like if you're getting that kind of thing, like, oh, here's a previous mystery or whatever, that would at least give you something about this character. But just kind of jumping in here cold, you're like, oh, here's a creep who likes to, who is being paid to find out about some infidelities, but also seems to really be into it.
By the way, most episodes are about infidelities.
It seems like it, yes.
Yes, but
I thought you were going to say most of the episodes are infinitely long, because this is a show that is, every episode seems to be about 52 minutes long, which is insane.
which is insane, and we'll find out we know why almost immediately. But like, thankfully, this opening not having a lot to do with the episode doesn't matter because we just saw a long clip show of the episode to come right before it.
Very true. Yeah, we already know what is happening in the episode, but yeah, so yeah, we get the opening, we get the intro.
Holy shit, this opening. Good fucking
and
God.
This also has a lot in common with California Dreams, which also has a long intro that we see again in the episode. But in this one, it is insanely long. It is we get a lot of shots of a woman on a beach by herself in a beach chair that's right on the edge of the ocean. She's got a tattoo on her leg of the Tropical Heat logo with a with a gun in it.
Or if you were watching on CBS, it would have said "Sweating Bullets."
Oh yes, okay, yeah, "Sweating Bullets," and it's like there's a gun with like a beach scene in the background and some and the text around it and little bullet icons.
And it's got this laconic song playing.
Yeah,
and it's the full. It is from the point we start with in this episode, you will see the cold open, which has nothing to do with the episode, and then the song. It is over 5 minutes before the actual show starts. That if you put a commercial break anywhere in there, you would be close to 10 minutes before the fucking episode actually starts.
Yeah, so that is probably what happened. They give you the intro, you get the cold open, you get the theme song, and then there's a commercial. So you're probably looking at like if this aired at like 8 o'clock, then you're looking at probably about 8:11 before it comes back to the actual episode.
God, if it was on TBS, you'd be like 8:20 before it started. Because their show started at 8:05.
Yeah, they do that weird thing. This catch it at 8:03 p.m. But like, so we get the intro. We see our characters. We hear this terrible long theme song that goes on forever. And then we kind of get into the episode. So we first meet up here with Ian, our British guy who runs this bar, Tropical Heat. And
would the bar have been called Sweating Bullets? Because that'd be stupid.
You know, that's actually a good point. Probably not. I imagine that the bar has always been Tropical Heat, but maybe I wonder if they retitled it because maybe it's like dicey with gun stuff, or was it Tropical Heat in Canada?
It was Tropical Heat in everywhere else except for America. Where
okay, so America, they have to have. This was the time where you have to have guns in the title.
That or Tropical Heat was already trademark, which it almost had to be.
Maybe, yeah, it's possible. I mean,
a porn movie at the very least. I mean, Tropical Heat in America sounds like a porn movie.
Yeah, it does actually, yes. And then the really skanky, skeezy version is called Tropical Skeet.
You're awful. I hate you.
So yeah, Ian is our bartender. He runs this bar. Bar seems pretty fun. It's like right on the beach. You can just pop up, get yourself a drink, get yourself a daiquiri, and then head out to the sand. But he is talking to our main character, Nick Slaughter.
An unbelievably bad name.
It's a great name, honestly. Like,
was he a sergeant at the DEA?
He might have been a sergeant with the Royal Mounted Canadian Police.
Then he would have been
Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, I'm surprised this isn't called like Tropical Slaughter or
Slaughter Heat.
Yes, Slaughter Heat.
It's such an aggressive name for a guy who not once in this show has his shirt buttoned up and he has a ponytail.
Yeah. Slaughter is he doesn't really inspire that kind of name, I don't think. But he's there and Ian is telling him all about how his old ex-girlfriend / ex-bandmate Kit is coming to town. She's contacted him and she's coming in. And Nick, proceeds to say like, hey, she was, from the stories you've told me, she was pretty bad. Like you guys had this this band, but she was kind of a bit of a wild card and a bit chaotic, and she kind of messed with your life, and you were in kind of a bad place when you got out of that band. You left because you couldn't take it anymore because it was too much. The partying, the drugs, all that was just too much for you. And he's like, yeah, you're right, but it'll still be good to see her because why not? So she shows up and she's very over the top, and they kind of hit it off, and she's like, hey, I've got some great news. We're gonna have this guy is really interested in buying the rights to our song, our hit song, and that they're gonna pay us $50,000 and all this stuff, and it's gonna be this big deal. It's our big comeback. So I wanted to come and talk to you, and also like I want to get our band back together, and we need to do it. We're gonna do it today. So their band is called Ground Zero, which would have there's a lot of people saying Ground Zero in this episode, and it takes on a very different connotation only 10 years later. And at the same year that the movie version of this came out. But the thing that I was most amazed by, because she talks to Nick a little bit before he leaves, and she says, hey, come back this afternoon. We're going to have a little fun band reunion. If Ian can find some guys to play the other parts, the drums and the bass guitar. And somehow they do it.
This is this weird thing where the show jumps really quickly, where they say something and he's like, I don't know how I could do that. Then they're playing and they have a banner and the whole song, they play a whole song. They sound like they sound like every Atlanta song or whatever at the time. And then they jump to another scene, and then they jump to another. Like it's there's no, like they're at the beach and they're rolling around and they're fighting, and it's like
so it's like it I thought that it was a flashback at first, because I was like, oh, is this like a flashback to their previous days on the as a band, and like maybe showing us what happened, or kind of like a freak out that occurred that caused him to rethink his involvement in this band. And it's like, no, it is not that. Basically, we have jumped forward a couple hours and they've somehow put up a banner with their name on it. They've gotten two guys who have learned this song and are playing it pretty well. And maybe they talk about how the song was a hit, so maybe they just know it. Maybe the guys are just like, oh yeah, I know that song, I like it, so it's not a problem for me. They're just these session musicians who hang out in this beach town of Key Mariah, who can drop everything and come over and play a song in the afternoon. But they play this song for the crowd. Everybody's into it. There's a bunch of weird random mix of people at this beach bar. Some dressed like they're at a beach bar, others dressed like they're Slash from Guns N' Roses. There's one guy wearing full-on leather and with long dark hair, pumping his fists as they're playing. And Kit suddenly, while singing, sees a man sitting in the audience, and she kind of freaks out and just runs off stage immediately. And Ian takes off after her and tackles her to the ground. And I guess now that in hindsight, knowing what the ultimate reveal of the episode is, it makes sense why she freaked out so suddenly. But in the context of the episode, like for the first time viewer, it's like, wow, this is a very like overdone show.
Yeah, like honestly, the song kind of zoned me out for a second, because like when they do full songs in these shows, and it's the runtime's really long, I will always kind of zone out because I'm not watching your show to hear a song. It's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden she's on the ground having a freak out. Like she had like to me, looking away, like blanking out and looking back up, I thought she dreamt the whole thing was having a seizure on the ground.
Yeah, I thought there was like going to be like a reveal of like the guy wasn't really there, or it was like her imagining something.
Well, there's two things about this show in general. One, they cut away and cut to the next scene, or like the tone changes really quickly. The second one is everyone talks in one-liners. all the time,
Yes.
whether they're talking to someone they know, someone they don't know that well, whether they're just hanging out. Like, there's literally no moment where they don't talk in one-liners. Like, when she has to say she's owed $50,000 and she's owed it for about 4 years. She goes, 50 grand, 4 years in the rears. And it's like, wait, what? What are you like? When the show opened with them discussing a scene that we did not see, where Sylvie's saying that they were at some place or they were at the bar or at the lobby of the seedy hotel they're at. Don't know, because we're just middle of the story, like picking up with them, saying there's somebody who was checking her out. And how does our Mr. Slaughter explain it? If you were an eclair, he wouldn't have left a crumb. And I'm like, that's a weird way to explain that to somebody who's just in a hotel room with you. But they always talk like that. He calls them, I'm the top foosball player in the lower keys. I'm zeroing in on platinum. And it's like they would stir fry their grandmothers if they get a hit. And it's like, stop saying these things. Like, use 2 of them maybe per episode. But it's 50 minutes of them talking to each other like that, and they're supposed to be super close friends. It's weird.
Yeah, knowing what we know about this show, I think it makes sense. But I don't think they knew. I mean, it's not like that's what they were intending for the show. Like, the ultimate sort of outcome of the popularity of the show, they didn't intend for it to be this
cult
thing.
Weird thing.
Like, it wasn't. Yeah, this like
especially
cult
season,
story.
like,
it's just kind of this.
No one on the show was aware until 2008 that they were a cultural phenomenon in Serbia.
Yeah.
No one at all knew it. But like, we have Ian saying that describing something to Kit as, yeah, like last night's goulash. I'm like, you're British. Why would you say? What are you saying all this shit for?
Yeah, so it basically turns out that like Kit owes some money to this guy named Warren Blake, who's like a bookie or something that she's borrowed money from, and she believes that he has sent a man named Cargill to get the money from her, and so she is trying to do this deal with Halstead, this record company guy who wants to buy the rights to their song to get the money to then pay off her debts. And so that's sort of the setup that we have. It's kind of silly, and Nick Slaughter doesn't really understand why he's being involved in this, which it kind of makes sense. He's like, I'm not really a bodyguard, and I'm a private detective. There's nothing for me to detect here, basically. But they decide they'll try to figure out who the guy is who has been sent after her to try to, help her out. So they go and see one of his old contacts, who's an ex-con named Sid Grady, who is, I guess, kind of a Hugh Hefner type, because we see him. He is this old man who is sitting in a pool with 2 young women, and who say nothing. They have no lines. They do not speak.
There's a scene later where there's 2 women behind him who are trying so hard as they lay on blankets, but like on their sides, pointed at the camera, pointed at the back of his head, to not move a muscle.
Yeah,
it looks like cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, it's very weird, and
it's gross.
It's
honestly,
gross.
But
it's
gross. It's not presented as gross. It's presented as kind of funny. / of course, this old man would have that.
Yeah,
and I guess in '91, of course, that old man would have that.
Sure, because he's like, I gotta keep myself busy.
Well, if you like look at old interviews from Hefner from like the early '90s and stuff, where he was already very old.
Yes.
They're always portrayed it like women actually found him incredibly attractive.
Yes.
Like anyone he interviewed, like probably has it in their contract to like, you have to you have to pretend this isn't gross. You have to say the women are actively incredibly attracted to him.
That's right, men. Don't worry about it. This, as long as you have a lot of money, women will flock to your horribly old body that you have to pop multiple Viagra's to do anything with.
It's just he earned them.
That's the message that's being put out there.
Yes, like he's done on the legwork. This is just his what is due to him for his position and job.
I mean, is that the reason that I guess I'm just now like it should be obvious, but I'm just putting it together in my brain as we're talking. Like, is that the reason that shitty old men like constantly go after young women because they want to be like Hugh Hefner, or is that just a thing that is always been there?
That's always been there, but he was the goal. Like,
but he was put on television, and he was put out like it was just
well,
one
think
of those
about how many
things
like
that was
older celebrities like hung out at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah,
like that. It was just like, hey, I have hit this point in my career, and I'm owed this.
Was there a Playgirl mansion where they could go to the grotto and just have guys walking around with their dongs out?
I don't think so, unfortunately. And I'm not sure how much Playgirl was for Playgirls. I'm sure it was, but it has a wide audience.
True. That's very possible. So yeah, they go meet this old skis ball who hits on Sylvie. Because of course he does. And so then to keep them safe, Nick tells Ian and Kit to go to the cabin on the outskirts of the jungle. Those are the words that he says. So they go out there to hide out. And Kit, is kind of talking about how she wanted to go solo, or she tried, but she really couldn't. She wants, Ian to come back to the band, and he's hesitant, and she kind of tries to come on to him a little bit, but he's like, I don't really know if I want to get back into this because I kind of remember how it all, went down. But she convinces him to go out to a bar by stealing his little dune buggy car and driving off, so he has to chase her. And we cut to them in this bar. They are dancing like they are in high school. They're grabbed they're like very close together with their hands on each other's butts, grabbing them.
Oh, it is fifth grade.
It's so funny.
Like watching okay, both these characters are dumb as children.
Yes,
they're musicians. Ian's an idiot. Ian's an idiot. She's in on it, but also kind of an idiot.
Yes.
She does. The ending's weird in how it works out, but like them dancing like little kids would dance to try to be sexy is kind of fitting, because they're mentally not really past 15 years old.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Like they're both kind of drunk, which sort of explains the dancing. But man, I just couldn't imagine, like, because they both have to do that thing where they're like, because Ian's they're about the same height. He's maybe a little bit taller, but he has to do that thing where he's like hunched over, like his shoulders are rolled forward so his hands can get low enough to grab her butt.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just, and then they really zoom in on it. And I don't know if it's supposed to be played for laughs, but it's very funny.
Yeah. This whole scene is actually very funny because while they're sitting there, Ian sweating bullets, like the title of the show, the muscle, Cargill here, shows up and demands the money from Kit. And she's trying to get away from him. And of course, Ian steps in to try to stop him. But he gets his ass kicked pretty good. He gets a nice little scar on his face that continues throughout the entire episode. This very little dainty scar right on the right side of his mouth. And as he's getting beat up here and getting pummeled, the other people in the bar aren't really doing anything. They're not really reacting to this. So I don't know if this is just a thing. This is like a Roadhouse style bar where people are getting beat up all the time. The person reacting the least, though, is the bartender, who just casually takes sips of his drink while Ian is getting his ass beat on the bar.
He could not look more bored, and I am pleased that we picked this episode simply for him.
Yeah, the bartender is the MVP of the episode for sure. It is the funniest thing. Like, I don't know if he thought that he wasn't in the shot, and so he just didn't think he needed to be reacting to this. But if it was like, oh yeah, you're going to be there, just be disinterested in this. Like, the shit must happen all the time. He's like, I don't have time for this. They didn't tip enough for that bottle they're drinking. I'm not going to step in here.
Florida has a lot of problems, but the Keys being basically a war zone, it seems a little bit above and beyond. Like when they walk onto the old man's property, everyone just has fucking giant automatic weapons.
Oh, you're right. That's right. They drive their little Jeep up to the beach. They hop out and walk up onto this palatial estate where there's just armed guards standing around, and you're like, wait a minute, this guy's an ex-con, right? You said, why does he need to have armed guards?
Like, armed to the teeth.
Yeah, it's very funny. I'm not sure if this old man shows up in other episodes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. So he gets beat up, and the guy tells her, give me the money by tomorrow or you're mine, whatever that means. So we go to a commercial, and then when we come back, I guess that turned them on. I guess getting his ass beat was just exactly what Ian needed to be in the mood, because they fucked. Like, definitely they did. She's
nude.
Yeah, she's nude. He's like, I'm sorry if I wasn't a proper gentleman or a good gentleman or perfect gentleman. She's like, perfect, yes, gentleman, no. So it's like, all right, well, they definitely fucked. And I don't think I've ever been in a situation where, like, the bodily harm that was inflicted upon me was like, you know what? I gotta fucking come right now.
Well, here's the,
I mean, again, that's his thing. He might be into it.
Tropical skeet.
That's right.
But yeah, like if they had, because in a lot of these cases, you'd have the main character, when the hitman showed up or whatever, step in front of her and beat him up, and she'd be like, "Wow, thanks." You're my hero, blah, blah, blah.
That would lead to the sex. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead, they both got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
She smacked her head against the back of her head against a cement pillar, and he got beat up thoroughly and his face cut up for the rest of the fucking episode. And that and with a threat of, I'm coming back and I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I'm going to murder you if you don't give me your money.
If you don't have $50,000 in 2 days, and they didn't have crypto back then. They couldn't make quick, easy money. So that in theory, would expect the next scene would then be them putting ice on their wounds and being like, holy shit, what do we do? Instead, they fucked.
Yeah.
And they're super happy about it,
well,
and they're in love.
Okay, so spoiler, Kit is in on it, obviously. She's,
Spoiler, Ian's an idiot.
But I think that's, since we know that she's in on it, like, in hindsight, I think maybe she insinuated as like, oh, I'll help you feel better, like that kind of thing. And so,
well, she does actually like him. Her part of her plan is for him to go with her.
Yes, I guess it's
and that's
weird.
The only part of her plan that doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's a weird plan. We'll get to it.
It's a difficult plan.
So,
and it has a cringeworthy
oh yes,
last detail.
Yes, it does. So they go to meet with this producer guy who wants to buy them things, Halstead, who is played by the lead from Forever Night, a show that almost certainly we will cover at some point on this show. I think we might have to have our good friend Megan Sunday on if we talk about Forever Night. I don't think she would forgive us if we talked about that show without her. But yeah, I knew I recognized him from somewhere, and you was like, oh yeah, he was on Forever Night. And I was like, oh, of course, he is the lead of that show. But he is particularly smarmy and skeezy, as music producers can be. And he wants them to just sign this contract. He's like, it's just standard language, just sign it. But they have a little bit of time to think about it first before they sign it over. And Nick, he warns his friend Ian. He's like, hey, I don't want you to get hurt again. I think that, Kit may not be the best for you. You're not really thinking clearly. And it's not really clear, um, what is going to happen. But like this is when I think this is when they're talking in Nick's office and something happens which I didn't quite get that causes Nick to run after Kit when she leaves, and then this causes Kit to kiss Nick and then slap him so that Ian sees, so that Ian thinks that Nick came on to her.
Which is so funny because all Ian has witnessed is Nick despising her.
Yes.
Literally moments before this. There's no, it clearly was a setup, and he has to buy it hook, line, and sinker for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And it's not earned.
No.
It's barely built up.
No.
And because he has to fall for so hard for literally the next 30 minutes, because the show is so fucking long.
Yes.
You have no sympathy for him.
No.
And it's just like, my God, this is the dumbest man on the show, and no one's even that smart.
No, it's like one of those like plot twists that you're like, he can't be this dumb. He can't be this dumb, because like earlier Nick was very mad at them for going out to the bar and then putting themselves in danger, and he's like, you have to do what I'm telling you to do. If I'm telling you to stay hidden, you got to stay hidden. Like, I'm trying to protect you. I'm putting, he's mad because he had to cancel a fishing trip to help them out, and he's like, I'm canceling my fun time to help you guys, and you're not doing what I say. So like he has no affection for Kit whatsoever. So it would make no sense for him to suddenly be like trying to come on to her. But yet Ian, his brain is clouded by the fog of
He's got a case
Kit's
of
vagina, I guess.
A case of woman on the brain.
Oh God, yeah, they fucking talk about that at the end of the episode. So
his fishing trip though. I love that they bring that up 3/4 of the way through the show. Like, I was supposed to be on a fishing trip. Like, you were? It's great.
So they get mad, and or Ian is pissed off basically, and they finally go back to the Halstead, to the hotel, and they sign over the deal. And even though Nick tries to kind of run interference and tries to stop Ian from doing it, but Ian just goes ahead and does it anyway. They sign the suitcase. They get a note from Cargill about the money drop. So they're going to basically take the money they just got from the contract and then take it out and give it to this guy, who will then hopefully sign off on the debt. And then that way she'll be debt free and there won't be any more money. So
here's the funny two things here. One, as soon as he signed that, the plot of the episode is over.
Yes.
None of the rest of the stuff has to really happen.
No,
because he's already done the thing that in theory the episode would be trying to stop him from doing.
Yes.
He has already signed away the song.
Yes.
And his future, his hit song, right? His hit songs and his future annuities from it.
Yes.
And then Nick goes to him, "Your life, your call." Because really, it is.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to sign away his fucking hit songs rights for $50,000, which in today's money is nothing.
Yes. But also there is a point that Nick makes. He's like, there's nothing in that contract about you signing the band to do anything else. You're basically this contract is just about you owning their song, and then that's it. And he's like, we're good. We'll do it. It's like, okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Like, it's like that twist of the contract is already gone, right?
Yeah.
He's told him that he's made Ian aware that he hasn't signed any kind of deal for future music performances or money. And when he says "your life, your call," which it is, that could be the end of the episode. He's like, "Yep, cool, you did it, fine, it's done, it is done," and.
But it's not. Like, there's still 20 minutes left.
There's still 20 minutes left. And like, we had to have him go like, you didn't sign any deal for a new record or new concerts or anything. And he's like, yeah, but it's the music, man. It's still in me. And it's like, no, you were in her. That's all you cared
Yeah,
about.
that's all that it was. So they go out to the drop site, Kit and Nick, and for someone who just forced a kiss on you and then slapped you and then made your friend get mad at you, they seem to be just fine with each other, which is really weird to me.
They have this running thing where she keeps asking him music trivia and he knows all the answers because he's
Yes.
the coolest guy on the planet, which it just feels like in a pre Google time may have been more impressive.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I that was the kind of person I was. I knew obscure movie shit, and then everybody got the internet, and I was like, I was not special anymore.
yeah, like the idea, like, what's Elton John's real name? Like, who fucking cares? Just like ask your phone it for a second. It's not a big, like, knowing shit about shit while still a personality online. You just know too many of those people, and they're all kind of annoying, like Josh. So,
I mean,
really, so really, like, this doesn't make him seem any cooler than he's supposed to be.
No.
Than his no buttoned up shirt and fucking ponytail already made.
That guy doesn't own a shirt that buttons, I don't think.
We see the golden trail the entire time he's on screen.
Absolutely.
Like the Silk Road is open for business.
The last shot of the episode, the last scene, is him without a shirt on, and that was generally shocking to me. I was like, "Oh shit, he's not even wearing a shirt in this one."
But what? Like, to the point where you see that and like, why did he even wear the Hawaiian shirt above his physique the rest of the show when he could have just been completely shirtless?
I don't know. I mean,
but it's the same shirt. Like, I wear Hawaiian shirts in summer a lot, mostly to be an asshole during Zoom meetings. But like, I have 15 to 20 of them. He has one.
Yeah, he's wearing the same outfit for the entire episode.
He's basically Fred Flintstoning it.
He is a living cartoon character. So they go to the drop site. They drop off the money. The guy shows up. They kind of pull their guns on each other for a bit, and there's like a whole back and forth. We never see the guy open the briefcase and look at the money. We never see the money. He just pops it open, kind of peeks in, and is like, all right, fine, you're good to go. And I thought immediately, I was like, oh, there's no money in there. Well, I guess initially I thought, oh, they're going to sign the contract. They never look at the money when they sign the contract. So I was like, oh, it's going to be full of like shredded newspapers or something. And no, that's not what happens. Then they take it to the thing. And then I thought, oh, the guy's going to look in there and say, hey, what is this? Some kind of joke? Are you trying to rip me off? And then there was going to be like an action scene. No, he looks at it and goes, okay, we're good to go. And then the next scene, oh, turns out she's in on it. She's hanging out with Halstead and with Cargill. And they have concocted this whole plan to get the rights from Ian, but also to start the band again, weirdly. But now they need to get rid of Slaughter because he's going to ruin this whole thing that they've got going.
I think
so convoluted
on how Ian reacts to just getting laid, that they could have gotten away with all of this by just asking him to do it, and then her saying, I want to restart a relationship. Which she actually does. Like, I kept waiting for her to like make out with the manager, the guy who she's on it with.
Yeah.
That he's her actual boyfriend. This was all just a ruse. That's her new man in her life. No. She actually wants to still be with Ian. Yeah. As much as she does anything else. So I don't understand the whole let's get murder involved to get the rights to this song. For what reason, Josh?
Well, okay, I'll tell you in just a second. I want to build the suspense as to why they need the rights to this song.
It's even better than why they are popular in Serbia.
Okay, so Nick gets a call from some guy he's been talking to in New York who gives him some information. He learns some info about Halstead, and he goes outside and then is immediately shot by Cargill and then fakes being dead. And this is great because he's not wearing a bulletproof vest, so I'm not really sure how he faked this. Like, he seems to get shot. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he just was like, well, he's too far away to be able to see that there's no blood on me at all, so I'll just pretend to be dead. Because Cargill runs away, and then we get a close-up of Nick's face as his eyes, like, peek open to see if it's okay now. And Cargill goes to and calls on a payphone and tells... and basically tells Halstead that everything is good to go. And
then he says he's gonna do some betting later, sports betting on professional wrestling, which is completely real to him.
It's real to me, damn it. And so they don't really wrap up what happens to Cargill. He's just a potential murderer who's still out there on the loose, and I guess that's just a loose end that they're going to let dangle. But
he makes some one-liners. One of which is great, and he says the only person that has to worry about Nick Slaughter anymore is the jerk who has to make his funeral arrangements. And I'm like, wow,
that's right.
Whoever that is just got fucking buried in the dirt, in the mud. But otherwise, like, there's so many chances for him to make a one-liner about the fact that his last name is Slaughter, and he never does.
Yeah. Yeah, they missed a boat on some of those, but like
maybe in the first 7 episodes there's like 200 jokes about that, and they're just taking their foot off the gas.
You're right. That is probably what has happened. But so they're at the airport, they're about to leave, and suddenly Nick rolls up, not dead, which surprises Halstead because he just got a call saying that he was dead. And he sort of reveals everything, and he basically reveals. Oh, we missed a scene that Sylvie goes to the hotel to talk to Halstead, but it turns out he's already checked out. And then she browbeats the manager into giving her a package for Halstead so that she can take it to the airport to meet him. Like,
I'm glad she knew that he was getting a package.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole thing was. Like, so if she had gone there and there had been no package and he was already gone, what was her plan at that point?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Out. It just magically works out that she gets there. The guy's like, oh, he's gone.
Does not know her. Takes at her word that she knows the owner of the hotel.
That's right.
Because she knows his name.
Yes.
That's all it is. And lets her take a private package that was sent to him to him. Like, breaks every possible law with no reason at all. Like, all she says is like, like if Homer like said like, I know Mr. Burns' name. I don't know his first name. I don't know. So let me have all his mail.
I think it's Murray.
I believe you have a letter for me. Okay, Mr. Burns.
Murray Burns.
What's your first name? I don't know. But except for her, it works.
Yeah, it works. The guy's like, well, okay, sure. Here you go. So she shows up at the airport as well. Perfect timing, and reveals that a song, I think the song is called Let Me See Your Smile or something like that.
It's the drive shaft made it.
Yeah, you all, everybody. So she reveals that basically Halstead is also the producer for a rap group. They don't name the group, but they say it's the hottest rap group around. And they play a snippet of their song on the tape that he received at the hotel, which seems stupid. Why would they? It doesn't matter. They play a snippet of the song, which is their big song, the Ground Zero's big song, and it turns out that he produced this song and is ready to release it, but didn't buy the rights. So this was all a big trick to get Ian to sign over his portion of the rights so that they could release the song without getting sued.
Now, this is kind of pulled on because this is like 91. This is after, I believe, when finally they had, like, because beforehand, around the time of like Paul's Boutique by Beastie Boys, you could sample other people's music and never have to pay for them.
Glorious
And
day.
yes, and then that got changed after that album in '89, where you actually have to, if like you feature a hook from someone's song in your song, they own part of your song.
Yeah.
So this is a hot topic at this point. But just when like the hottest rap group in 1991, I just wanted to crawl within my skin what these white people were going to do. And
And it's about what you expect.
It doesn't help that Halstead looks like a Tim Heidecker character.
He totally does. You're right.
With his hair slicked back, like he's gonna give us
He
free
looks
real
like
estate.
he does look like Decker. He exactly looks like Decker.
Yeah. So I mean, he's in everything. Every show we would ever could possibly do in the future, he's in. But
yes,
including 2 different RoboCop TV series, 2 different ones over 2 different decades. But yeah, he looks just like Tim, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to hear this rap song. I don't want to hear what they're gonna do. I don't want to hear hands in the air. Like, you just don't care.
So yeah, all the truth is out there.
But they've already got away with it.
But they got away with it. Basically, like the only thing that they're doing now is convincing Ian not to go. Like they're basically trying to get him to stay because they know that Kit is bad for him and they don't want to see him get hurt anymore.
At worst, he would get to New York and they wouldn't have their band wouldn't go anywhere because they only wanted the rights to this song, and he'd come back in a month or 2.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And basically, Kit is trying to convince him, but he says no, and she gives him a big kiss and gets on the plane and goes away. And it's like, all right, well, that kind of sucks. I mean, because like he's
lost his song.
Yeah, he lost all of his rights, and he lost his like royalties and stuff. So like he's fucked.
Now he has to actually run his business well, which I guess within about half a season, he
has to sell it to some guy named Spider.
Spider.
And then, at the end, Ian and Nick, they kind of make up, and Ian does not say, "I'm a big dumb idiot for thinking that you would do that to me," but they do apologize, and then they get on to a side topic about how women make them crazy, and that's...
And they walk by 2 girls, and do the turn around, look at their asses, and one girl has a big dog swimsuit on, which I just thought was very funny. If someone in this show had a Big Johnson t-shirt, I would not have been surprised.
So that is the episode of Tropical Heat, or Sweating Bullets, as it's known in other parts of the world. So we've already talked about it a little bit. We've alluded to it a little bit about how this song, the Ground Zero song, very popular in Serbia. But the show is very popular in Serbia. It has a cult status. So Skinner, I think you know a little bit about this.
So it's hard to explain. Because if you go, like, there's not many shows where if you go from like 91 that are like just CBS shows or Canadian syndicated shows, if you go to their Wikipedia page, there's like 7 paragraphs on the popularity of the show in Serbia. That alone is kind of funny, where it's like, oh, it's popular, it's got cult status, but there's more to it. So like apparently when it went into reruns, the show became immensely popular. It became called a minor cultural phenomenon because of the tropical life in the atmosphere was a very large contrast to what the people in the mid-90s Serbia were used to. So it was just constantly rerun, and people really got into it. Then, during the alleged election frauds by Slobodan Milosevic, which is a big, big, big thing then, a big uprising of a lot of the youth versus the government at that point, a legendary graffiti artist put out a strip, which was Nick Slaughter Zarkarvo Hails You, which in Serbian rhymes. And he's featured with his ponytail and his open shirt and his Hawaiian shirt in this protest strip. which became very, very popular. And they put up all these posters and stuff with the slogan saying Nick Slaughter for president, which also apparently rhymes in Serbian. And it would be banners and badges with this everywhere. And they had another popular slogan was every mother should be proud to have a son like Nick Slaughter, which is crazy. And then Serbian punk band Atheist Rap paid tribute with a song called Nick Slaughter Serbia Hails You in 1998. All based on using Nick Slaughter as the symbol of their fight against the government and all the corruption.
Wow.
Beyond that, many taverns and bars and summer patios were renamed in honor of Nick Slaughter and the popular TV show because they loved the ambiance of it. Mind you, so it is not only popular as a cultural phenomenon, like a popular show that portrays something that they're not used to seeing in Serbia at the time, but also is a symbol of the protest of the youth. And all this is going on, and absolutely nobody associated with the show was aware of it.
Yeah.
Until 2008 when Rob Stewart, Nick Slaughter himself, is on Facebook looking up, is anyone like my old show? Rob working constantly. He's not a has-been who doesn't have any work to do, but I'm sure he had a day off. He's on Facebook, finds a Facebook group named Tropical Heat / Nick Slaughter with 17,000 Serbian followers. So he starts digging deep, and he finds out what's going on. And then him, along with a filmmaking friend and his sister, decide to make a documentary about it called Nick Slaughter for President. And then he appears on stage with Atheist Rap, performing this song with his name on it in 2008.
Yeah, there is the documentary is from 2012. You can watch it on Prime with their Docurama little plug-in or the little channel. So it might be something that we potentially look at a little bit later on, maybe as like a special bonus episode or something, just because that's so incredibly wild. That
I love. He apparently thinks that his popularity was due to his portrayal of Nick as a bumbling idiot who's brave, honest, and caring despite being stupid.
I never got that from him in that episode. I don't think he's a bumbling idiot.
He's the least bumbling person in the episode, which maybe changes, because there are far more episodes in that third season than there are the first season.
That's true. That is true. He's also in a great show that we might have to cover as well called Amazon. It's based on a Peter Benchley novel about a commercial aircraft crashing in the Amazon rainforest, leaving only a handful of survivors. Their hopes of rescue aren't good as the Amazon proves to be more hostile than the terrifying plane crash. And they must deal with piranhas, deadly snakes, flesh-eating ants, poisonous plants, hostile tribes, and more.
It's funny that the Wikipedia calls him mostly unemployed at the time.
Yeah, that's not true because I'm looking at his IMDb. He was in a ton of stuff.
He was in the main role that year for Painkiller Jane, which only lasted one season, but he literally just finished a main role show.
Yeah,
he's doing 3 to 4 movies per, like Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies per year at that point.
Yeah, exactly. In 2008, when he first discovers this, and then I'm looking at his career after that, and it's like, yeah, he just keeps working. I mean, he's not working.
He's in this, episodes of a lot of things, but that's work.
Yeah.
He's just not in movies at that point.
Yeah. He was in the Beauty and the Beast TV series. I don't know what that
every
is.
Every Canadian was in that show. That was on fucking all the time.
No. This is one from 2012.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. He's also in like that. There was like a kind of a horror show called Slasher, which he's in like 6 or 7 episodes of that. He was in Schitt's Creek. Also, every Canadian was in that show.
Oh,
and he's in a fairly recent, like, kind of semi-popular show called Mayor of Kingstown, which I've heard a lot of people have talked about. I think it was
do we cover? Do we at some point? Do we cover Ron Perlman's
Beauty and the Beast show.
Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I
for
mean,
sure.
like, I feel like somehow that's been it's slowly slipped through the cracks, but it
Yeah.
was a big fucking deal.
It was a big deal. I
mean,
want to
Linda Hamilton.
yeah, for sure. Before we rate this on our scale of weirdness, I do want to read you this review that possibly came from someone in Serbia. I don't know. 10 out of 10 stars. Awesome. This show was extremely entertaining. I would highly recommend it. I remember in the early 90s, so possibly not from Serbia. I remember in the early 90s watching this show on CBS Crime Time after prime time at 11:35 p.m., right after the CBS News. So this was not a primetime show, apparently. It was on after the news. The scenery and the music puts you in the mood and makes you feel like you're there.
Nope.
I never understood why they stopped filming this show.
What a weird thing to write of a show that had 3
Trust
seasons.
me, this review gets weirder. I wanted to visit Key Maria myself and have a drink at the Tropical Heat Bar. I bought season 1 on DVD. I only hope Tango Entertainment puts the rest of the episodes on DVD. Even better, wouldn't it be great if they brought the show back today? I hope you read this, Sam Egan, creator, Rob Stewart, Nick Slaughter. Thumbs up.
I'm always confused when someone does the, like, for a show that had a decent run, like
60 episodes.
60 episodes. That's a lot of work for somebody. It's on a lot, and go like, why did they ever cancel it? Like, should it have gone from 1991 to 2013 to 2015? Like, how many fucking
that review is from 2007. So
they wanted to last 16 years.
Yes.
It's not fucking Bones. It doesn't have to be on forever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to put this on our scale of weirdness. Where does this fall? And I think that you are allowed to take into account the cult following in Serbia as part of your weirdness rating.
Okay, so the show itself is a 1.5. It's just every show from that time.
Sure.
But if you put in that Serbia, I think it's a 9.
Yes. I think I got to go 8 for that, because it's just so wild that's a thing. Like, that this is one of those weird shows that, the fact that, like, not just that it got a cult following after the fact, because a lot of shows do that. A lot of shows get very popular in other countries. I mean, you think about like Baywatch and David Hasselhoff and it being really popular in Germany and things like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. But the fact that it was used in like political upheaval and unrest, and it was like this weird character was a rallying point for like
for
the
banners
youth.
and wearing badges with Nick Slaughter on it.
Yes. Like,
and the fact that he had no idea.
Yeah. The fact that the actors are not involved, the creators have no idea about it. Like, and now it's making me think, like, what show, like, I mean, that would be like, Are You Being Served being used as like anti-Trump propaganda over here or something.
It's such a weird thing, and like, it's not even like, it's not even super high like internet, like, did you know trivia, because until we picked this show, we were gonna do this show anyways, because we had picked it a few weeks back. It wasn't until I pulled open the Wikipedia to figure out which episode sounded dumbest, which is what we do, and saw this long paragraph about its popularity in Serbia, and then reading it and like it going deeper and deeper. I'm like, that's great. Like, it's well known enough that it's captured on this Wikipedia page, but it's still 99% of the population outside of Serbia has no idea that this show had this cultural impact.
Yeah.
And it's not even like an internet like meme that this show has this impact, which is really a weird hole in culture. Like, as far as like things can have just different meanings, different places. And, you know, big in Japan is a joke, right? Like that's just, it's the banned version of My Girlfriend in Canada. But like this shit does happen. And this is possibly the deepest, weirdest scale of it I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've ever really encountered anything like this. It's just so
as far as like
bizarre.
obscurity here. Like this is a show. It finished up its run on prime time after prime time fine, and it immediately like it evaporated off the taste buds of North America. Right?
Yeah,
it's gone. It had no cultural impact whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
somehow it did.
But somehow it did, and at a crazy level.
Yeah. Yeah,
bizarre.
No, it was
wonderful though.
It was a terrible show. I don't know, like
I did not like hey, like if you're gonna do an uprising, fucking Pack Blue. Come on.
Yeah, Pack Blue is at least fun. Maybe there is, because there are so many episodes, I don't want to necessarily commit to going back to this one like we did with like Pack Blue, because I feel like definitely want to see what happens there, like we did with Small Wonder. Definitely want to see what happens with later episodes of that show. But like maybe we touch back in on this in one of like the season 3 episodes just to kind of see what's going on in there, see how they cram full 36 fucking episodes into that season. But like, yeah, the show's just not good. Like it's not entertaining. It's not like there's not anything really fun happening, at least in the episode we watch. Maybe there's other episodes in season 1 or 2 or 3 that are better. Obviously there have to be, but like, yeah, it's so weird that this show, which is kind of dull and like not that exciting, is like this big thing, this rallying cry, this like weird thing for people, for youth in another country. Like it's so strange.
When Slobodan was dying in his prison cell from UN war crimes,
they put on tropical heat as like torture.
His last words were, "Damn you, Nick Slaughter."
I think that's the perfect way to wrap up this episode. Damn you, Nick Slaughter. But until next time, we're back talking about another weird show, but possibly one that doesn't have any sort of cultural significance like Tropical Heat.
I mean, hopefully no other of our shows involve a world leader who did genocide.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But until next time, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And we want you to keep it weird and follow Nick Slaughter into battle.
Any mother would be proud.
I hope that the creator, Sam Egan, and the star, Rob Stewart, sees this.
Ron Thomas and Rob Stewart.
Here's this episode. I hope they hear it.
Well, apparently they Googled their fucking names.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Great show. We love you. Come on our show.
You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at Weird Center. As always, thanks for listening.